If I've learned anything from my recent ambitious home renovation projects, it's that everything goes much more smoothly when you have the right tools for the job. This principle extends beyond the sphere of home projects and into the realm of beauty. From bedraggled Muppet to actual human being, the key to the perfect blow dry lies in following the steps and having the right tools for the job. Beginning with the Cricut C4 carbon comb. This thing is tough and heat resistant. I use a 2.5-inch ceramic ion round brush that allows air to breeze through both sides. And how's this for a game changer? These are super gripping large clips designed to really hold your hair in place as you section it off for the perfect blow dry. With towel-dried damp hair, I'm applying a blow-dry cream with a little bit of hold to it to keep the style in place for a few days. I emulsify it in my hands, and then I distribute it throughout my hair, starting in the back so that it doesn't clump in the front. The next step is to guard and protect my hair from heat using this Osis Plus by Schwarzkopf thermal protecting spray. Next, it's my amazing blow-dry secret. I shake it and mist it onto my hair to cut the dry time in half. I like to use the attachment nozzle on my blow dryer to get a nice powerful stream of air. Next, I use that wonderful gap at the edge of my comb to establish my part. Next, very gingerly, I comb through my hair. Now this must be done gently because when your hair is wet, it is very susceptible to damage. It stretches 30% more, it can easily snap. Now this next step is going to be a revelation for you. You are going to section your hair off into 3 sections, like some gloriously tiered cake. So you start with the top, and you don't have to use a comb, you can just use your fingers, try to get it even, and then pin it down with that grip. That is not going anywhere. Next, you're going to do the same thing. You're basically creating little halos around your head. Now for the second section, you'll want to twist it and then pin it up so that that hair remains damp while the section below it is being thoroughly dried. Plus, this is going to save you from a mess of tangles. You have now positioned yourself for blow dry success. Now let's turn up the heat. Using my fingers, I'm just trying to dry my hair a little bit more before I get to the brush. I have a need for speed. The faster this can be done, the better. It's worth mentioning that I have fine hair that has a little bit of wave in it if left alone after showering. I'm directing my brush diagonal back so that my hair will softly wave away from my face. There are 2 little subtleties that will make a big difference with this. You have to keep your hair taut. The tension between your brush and the hair has to be pretty tight so that when that heat from the blow dryer blasts it, the hair is being pulled straight so that it will dry straight. The second subtlety is that you want the direction of your air to be blowing in the same direction as your cuticle to avoid as much frizz as we can. The cuticle lies on the outside of the hair and it's about 6 to 10 layers. It sort of looks like shingles on a roof. Our goal is to direct the air in the direction of the shingles. If your air is blasting against the direction of the shingles, then you get frizz. Not to beat a dead horse, but have I mentioned having the right tool for the job? What I love about this ceramic ion brush is that, well, it's a few things. It's lightweight, so it's pleasant on the wrist. The core barrel is metal, so as that heats up from the blow dryer, it wraps around your hair and is smoothing and pressing your cuticle flat. Last but not least, this is a hollow barrel, so the air is going through one side, coming out the other, which expedites the process. Being the savvy business person that you are, you know that time is a non-renewable resource. So I like to use time wisely. If I'm going to blow dry my hair, I want this to last for 3 to 4 days. Now, time lapses, as miraculous as they are for the sake of a tidy video, can be deceiving. This will take a bit of time, and it will take a bit of practice to get to the point where these motions just are fluid and you don't feel like you're awkwardly fumbling. Don't worry, you'll get there. And just like that, we are on to the second section. And the game plan remains the same. Pulling the hair nice and taut, in diagonal sections. Now I've unpinned the top and final section, going strong. Each strand of hair is coated in products designed to extend the longevity and to fight the humidity in which I find myself this summer. I wish someone had taught me how to do a proper blow dry earlier in life. I wouldn't have been so frustrated with my type of hair. It wasn't until cosmetology school that I really understood the science and the technique. I'm going to save you 2,000 hours. Introducing this game changer by Big Sexy Hair. I know. Powder Play Light. By far the most versatile tool in my tool chest. This is a microfine powder that absorbs any moisture. This puff applicator distributes it perfectly. It absorbs grease and oil, which makes your hair much lighter weight, and it gives a nice stiff starchness. Not only is it an unparalleled volumizer that nobody talks about, but it's also a killer dry shampoo. It is going to zap that grease. Goodness, I'm feeling so vulnerable giving away all of my hair secrets. And yet there are more. I love this Redken Wax Blast 10. I spray this from the mid shaft down to the ends. It just perfectly gives a little bit of separation, a little bit of texture at the bottom, and smooths around any flyaways. Speaking of flyaways, I spray this onto my hands and then I just gently pat down flyaways across the top of my head. We are going for longevity after all. One last thing, I take a middle part vertically down the back of my head, almost like I'm making schoolgirl pigtails. I pull it forward. Oh my word, because look at that. With all of my hair pulled forward, it looks like I have full hair. Nobody's staring at the back of your head. Bring it forward. This is some major secret here. Pull it forward and your hair will look luscious and full from the front. If only all beautifying efforts could be this easy. Oh, but some can. I have a real ugly duckling in my dining room. A chandelier that is far too small in scale to be appropriate for the size of the room. The old me would have made a call, but the new me takes out a ladder. I've never switched out a chandelier before, so I figured this would be the perfect time. Finally, I'd get to enjoy the Italian chandelier I have been holding on to for about 6 years. I crept down to the basement to find the circuit breaker box and try to identify exactly where the switch was for the dining room. The labeling for this was not exactly precise, so I flipped off a few switches and then confirmed when I went back upstairs to the dining room that the power was indeed off for that chandelier. This was important so that I didn't electrocute myself. After unscrewing the chandelier from the base, I was met with cloth-covered wires that look quite old, like this, with little plastic end caps that I had to unscrew. Then I had to uncoil the copper wires attaching the chandelier to the wires in the ceiling. Then down she came. This is what the ceiling looked like once I removed the chandelier. My much larger chandelier was just a little too long, so I removed 2 of the metal links to make it a little bit higher up on the ceiling. Bingo! So on the ladder, I took the chandelier wires and I threaded them through the middle of where the chandelier will be screwed onto the ceiling. Now this took some considerable finessing. I had to take these pliers to pull the copper wires through this center base so that I could then twist those wires around the wires poking out of the ceiling. Do you see that bright brass piece that doesn't match the rest of the brown chandelier? I had to use that from the chandelier that I took down because the piece that came with the new chandelier didn't fit the ceiling piece. Not to worry, I have a plan to make it all work together. After I screwed the chandelier into the ceiling, I twisted the copper wires from the chandelier into the ceiling wires. Next, I screwed these plastic caps over the wires that I had twisted together. Next, I took out my paints and mixed brown and white until I made the perfect shade to cover the brass of the chandelier. With my paintbrush in hand, I gently dabbed and spread that paint all over the brass until I couldn't even tell which part of the chandelier had been painted at all. Paint touch-ups absolve all sorts of homeowner transgressions. I hope you have your Kleenex handy. Look at this, from an ill-fitting, too small chandelier that was haunting my dining room to picking up unrealized dreams off the floor and giving them new light, so to speak. Breathtaking! What a difference! Ready for more sweetness? Let's take it to the kitchen. I'll be showing you an ultimate dessert hack. Gosh, I bristle when I hear that word, hack. It's so coarse. It's like a goose that's about to smack you in the head. I will be showing you a technique to elevate and ameliorate a store-bought good for dessert. Now, if you, like most of America, live in a place that does not have an incredible French bakery close by with desserts that you cannot pronounce, fear not. Take my hand, we're going to Walmart, where they sell Little Debbie cakes. Delightful petit four. That's what they are. They're petit four. Delicate little layered cakes with a cream-filled center. They look so elegant. White, the little bit of texture. What a gift. I'm about to take simple carbohydrates and make them into anything but simple with a chocolate embosser. Yes, the sort of embosser you use on your letters, only instead of using this gorgeous golden wax to melt down and stamp the envelope with, we're using chocolate. Time and temperature are of utmost importance, so let's move quickly and let's move intentionally. Fill a small Ziploc bag with a few chocolate chips and put it in the microwave. Zap it for 30 seconds, then take it out and give it a good massage like it's had a hard day. Microwave it in 10-second increments, alternating massaging with microwaving for 10 seconds until the chocolate is melted. Making sure your baggie is indeed zipped, take your scissors and snip off a little piece of the corner. You have just made yourself a renegade pastry bag. We'll be using this to squeeze out our little puddles of chocolate to make our coins. On a sheet of wax paper, carefully squeeze the chocolate through the hole you cut on the corner to create little mounds. Using your metal wax embosser that has been in a freezer for at least 30 minutes, stamp your embosser into the chocolate slightly. Press it down just enough to make an impression and hold it there for a few seconds, then gently pull it away. If your embosser is not completely freezing, this is what will happen. You'll stick the embosser into the chocolate mound and it'll just be a mess. Discovering that I had about 3 stamps before the chocolate gooped onto the embosser, I tried putting 2 embossers on ice and then alternating in between them to let them get cold in between uses. When I took the embossers off of the ice, I dabbed them with a paper towel to get any water off of them. So I tried this ice in a cup method and it went all right. I mean, as you can see here, it functioned. It wasn't the best. So after a few more stamps, I ended up putting both of these embossers back into the freezer for a good 30 minutes. In the meantime, I piped out some more melted chocolate and counted my blessings. It takes some practice to control this chocolate, and you really want to do just a minimal snip at the corner of this bag because melted chocolate just comes pouring out, and it was tricky to control. Once my embossers were in a freezing cold state, I went to it on this chocolate, and it's okay if you slop your chocolate around your wax paper because it's going to get stamped and pressed anyway, and there's something inherently charming about a homemade touch. I carefully took my wax paper full of chocolate coins and put it in the freezer to harden, and while I did that, I unwrapped some fancy cakes and I piped some chocolate into the middle of each, acting as glue to bind the chocolate coins to the top of these. Next, using an offset frosting spreader, I picked up the coins off of the wax paper and placed them onto the tops of the Debbie cakes. I'm not convinced that I actually needed the little dots of chocolate glue to hold them in place. It's not like these were about to knock around in a car, so just feel free to skip that step. Now, your friends don't really eat dessert anyway, so this is really more of an Instagram moment. If they bite into it, they'll know it's a Debbie cake, which might take them into a fit of nostalgia. You never know. Either way, it's a real treat. And chocolate embossing is a darn good skill to have.